Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and as always, joining me, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is today we are going to be talking all about Doom: The Dark Ages. This is pretty much the only topic of the show this week, so it'll be potentially a pretty quick one, in honor of the Memorial Day weekend and whatnot. And this is going to be the rare one where, like, we might just kind of, have some light spoilers in the general conversation, but we were talking before we started recording. It didn't really make sense to split this out into, like, spoiler-free and spoiler-filled, sections of the podcast, because it's a Doom game. It's not... I mean, there are maybe a couple things in there that could be spoiled. We won't necessarily dive into those, maybe, but... I certainly don't play Doom for the story. I know Cameron, differs from me on that front. But yeah, so just going to be kind of one topic, general Doom: The Dark Ages today. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Doom: The Dark Ages. We both finished this. Had you finished it by last week's episode? I forget where we were.
Ooh, I think so. But we were doing the spoiler cast for...
Yeah, we did Blueprint, so I don't think you finished it until like a couple days into the week.
Yeah, right? I didn't finish it until Tuesday, I think. Okay. I think it was Tuesday I finished it.
I think I probably finished it before we sat down to record with Ari.
I still had like a couple levels left to do on Sunday. And yeah, this is one I took like a lot more time with.
Sure.
Than like when I was doing the levels, I was like being a lot more methodical about it rather than just like burning through and then coming back later for collectibles.
Sure.
So
I'll throw to you then to kind of start us off as the lore nerd who was much more excited about Doom: The Dark Ages and like where this fit into the storyline of things. As somebody, you actually know shit from the codexes of the previous games, where I was like, I got them as collectibles, but I read maybe one or two and was like, I don't care about any of this stuff. I just like running and shooting things. So what did you think of Doom: The Dark Ages, Cam?
Well, Doom Eternal really set up this idea of a like sci-fi medieval knight mashup with the Sentinel civilization that they kind of like introduce you to the ruins of. It's like barely any remnants are left of it when you are in Doom Eternal. You essentially like create a taboo in order to save Earth from the Hellgates, and it sets up this idea of like a very like code bound, honor bound, but also very brutal civilization. And in the codexes, they set up this idea that the Doom Marine from Doom 1 and 2 and Doom 64, after being stuck in hell for a while, gets essentially spit out into the Sentinel world, is found and rescued by them, and somehow becomes part of their society, and then ends up elevating himself to the level of like a heroic leader, giving him the title of Doomslayer. And then it kind of like leaves that off from there. And what Doom: The Dark Ages is doing, it's filling in the gap between those moments of the codex that you see the cutscenes for in Doom Eternal, and kind of like there's a level when you're on the Sentinel planet where there's this massive Titan demon that is essentially sealed away by your Doom Blade that you break off and have to reforge because you don't want to let this Titan demon out.
I remember so little of Doom Eternal.
It's okay. I replayed it because I was like, I want to replay Doom Eternal and,
sure.
and finish the DLCs. And like kind of a mistake, but the Old Gods DLC, mileage may vary depending if you're a lore fan. Otherwise, they're really challenging, really good. But
I definitely went into that period of 2020 expecting I was going to spend far more time with Doom Eternal than Animal Crossing. And boy, was I wrong.
I think everybody was wrong on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time with Doom Eternal because that game was very, very long.
Yeah.
Like my thoughts going into Doom: The Dark Ages here was very much like I really loved Doom 2016. Absolutely had a great time with it. And kind of left that game. And I think like in my write-ups and stuff like that, I would always kind of talk about the idea of like a first-person shooter should never feel slower than this again. Like, if it does, it's not gonna grab my attention. It's not gonna work for me. Doom Eternal, I don't think felt slower, but it was definitely over designed. Over like the levels were huge, and I felt like that game was 2 to 3 times longer than it needed to be, and it had very much worn out its welcome by the time I got to the end of Doom Eternal. But I played through the whole thing, never went back for any of the DLC or anything like that. But yeah, it was like, wow, that game took forever to play through. And I also will say that like none of the new mechanics and stuff they added in Doom Eternal bothered me. Like I loved the verticality of it. I thought it added a different layer to kind of the movement and combat. It was just way too long, way too big of levels for what my personal taste would be. And so here with the Doom the Dark Ages, when I'm seeing stuff like coming out beforehand of like, you know, it's twice as big as Doom Eternal, I'm like, oh, don't tell me that. That's bad. I don't want that. And
that's not what people wanted it.
And what I think it is like they're counting all of the like giant maps that you're going around flying with your dragon mount, or when you are in like the big mech thing. I think they're counting like that, you know, mileage Probably. Or something like that. So yeah, I was wary of this one, but I was like, well, I still have a few days left on my Game Pass from South of Midnight a few weeks back. So yeah, I'll go ahead and play through Doom: The Dark Ages. I played through on like the basic difficulty. I didn't drop it down to like the lowest difficulty, but it was like I'm gonna play it here.
Hurt Me Plenty is that one.
Yeah.
That's also what I played it on.
I'm gonna play it here, see how, especially knowing that this game is really leaning into like the parry mechanics. See how, you know, I deal with parry stuff. Thankfully, having just played Clair Obscur Expedition 33, parries aren't. I'm not as averse to parries as I might have been otherwise. And so yeah, I ended up basically just playing through the whole game with that. And I was mostly 100%ing the levels as I went. I did have some like cleanup stuff after the fact. I'll throw it back to you again here in a sec. But the big takeaway for me was I was appreciative that it didn't wear out its welcome like Doom Eternal did, but also this felt slower and sluggish for me than I want in a Doom game. And yeah, just like as somebody who doesn't care about the lore and
for sure,
the fact that like every level of this is like starting and ending with a cutscene, I was like, I don't care about any of this stuff. Let me just get back to the action. But even the action never really felt like it clicked for me, and so like I played this game to go through the motions, but it's not gonna fare well when it comes to like end of the year, game of the year stuff. It's like a 6.5, 7 for me probably. It's in that like okay to good territory. Like you know, not egregious. I didn't hate my time with it, but I just never really clicked for me in a way that that Doom 2016 certainly did. And as, you know, maybe let's say interesting in air quotes as the like Dark Ages timeline of this is or whatever, like it's when you're running around still with a super shotgun and stuff, and and the biggest change tends to be like, oh, instead of the BFG, it's the BFC, and it's a crossbow themed like mega weapon. It's like, all right, I don't know if I needed that. Like everything else still feels like it is a fucking gun for gun's sake. So like it doesn't feel as medieval or Dark Ages as they're, you know, implying and whatnot. So yeah, it was like, it's a fine experience. I'm gonna, just like with Doom Eternal, I'm not gonna remember anything about this game, you know, 6 months from now. So where did you like you took a little bit more time with it? I will say, I mean, like saying all that, I did 100% the game. I did like get every collectible. I did upgrade everything. I did all of the weapon challenges and everything. I have the 1000 out of 1000 achievement score on my Xbox, which is a rare feat for me. If I had been playing on PlayStation, it'd be a platinum. But yeah, it was like it was a thing to do that you know, I've done and will not think about much more beyond when we finish this podcast. So what did you think of how did it tie into your expectations from, your story, elements from Eternal and whatnot.
Sure.
And what did you think of just kind of the gameplay overall?
Eternal, like I like this better than Eternal. I think that, I think as sluggish as I think that's interesting to note because like Doom 2016, you are I would say you're a locomotive. You start going and you just keep going. You pick up speed, going. In Doom Eternal, they just start you as like right off the bat. Like you are just moving. There's no sense of momentum as you're moving. You're just moving through space because you have to be vertical. Like there's more verticality. I felt like they overcompensated levels in Eternal because in taking into accordance that verticality of like, well, now we're more vertical, so now here's 3 or 4 layers of like levels to go through, and it's like that's not the takeaway you should have made from that. They do not listen to that feedback in the Old Gods DLC, unfortunately. It's just more of that.
Yeah. I will say, just real quick on that, the one thing I really hated about Doom Eternal, especially that I remember, was the like enemy that gets introduced as like a boss midway through the game, where it is like you have this narrow window for a parry mechanic, and that's the only way you can do damage to him, and then he just becomes like a normal enemy by the end of the game. I hated that enemy so much because of my aversion to parry stuff. So I was very concerned about all of the parries in this game, but ultimately, like on the Hurt Me Plenty, it was fine. My timing was fine. I had like plenty of a wide open window. I could have maybe made it more difficult if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. It's like if anything, I want the Doomslayer fantasy. I want the I'm just mindlessly killing all of these demons.
You want to rip and tear.
I want to destroy all these things. So yeah, I'm not looking for I'm not looking for this to be a brutal Elden Ring-esque challenge in terms of like timing and figuring out all of the enemy patterns, stuff like that. Even with like the parry timing as it was, I had a pretty good feel for the enemy patterns by the end of things, especially because in the mode I was playing, they are telegraphing their moves and you can see like the color things. As I understand, you can turn that off if you want kind of more of a challenge and you want to be eyeballing it more. And I was like, nope, I don't want that. I want the power. So I got the power fantasy from it. It was fine.
I think another thing too, it's like the parry in Doom Eternal's not a real parry. It's like a QTE that if you mess up, you just get wrecked. More so than like it's like because you're meant to. The whole system with that enemy that you're talking about is a problematic enemy as far as like the design of it goes.
You have to be like at the right distance away from it, and you have to like press the button right when the light goes green or whatever it is.
Yep, it's all about you shoot when he goes green. You shoot him with your gun. He staggers, and then you shoot him more. That, by the way, you were smart to go back to the Old Gods because the Old Gods' final boss is literally that, just all of that, but like bumped up, and it's like this wasn't the right takeaway for you guys to make on how people felt about this type of enemy. There is a level of grace that's given with the shield and the parry mechanic here in Dark Ages that I think is, if you were worried about that parry thing because of your experience in Eternal, that's not the case here. You can literally tune that up. You can even be on the regular mode. The other thing that I want to give a shout out to is like the accessibility features that they have for this mode, where it's like, how do you want to play this game? And I think they really took a lot of people's feedback about the difficulty of Doom Eternal and said, okay, you can now set it. It's not just what mode you're at. It's what mode is going to be the standard setting for that mode. Mm-hmm. Now you can also go in and do like extra, like I want extra ammo. I want my parry window to be as wide as possible. It's that sort of a thing that they really took, and they're like, hey, we want people to experience Doom the way you want to experience it, which I think is the good route to go.
Yeah.
I think that's a route that more games that are all about, quote unquote, the challenge go, because it lets people really adapt themselves to it. And then if they want to move that, like slide that difficulty scale up in different ways, that makes it more challenging. Also lets you not just on the extra brutal mode, where it's just like, oh, you get shot once you're dead, or like any of that. You can really customize that variance there. For me, story-wise, like was I excited about it? Yeah, but like I'm not looking for like the most in-depth like character analysis in a Doom game. The Doom characters and Doom story is very much, you're the Doom guy, you murder all the demons. That's the story of Doom.
Yeah.
In this one, you're the Doom Slayer. You are needing to kill all the demons. Like in it, but this time they bring up and like, hey, we now have like a figurehead demon who has like machinations and plans that is more about being calculated and conniving and not about just confronting the Doomslayer until he has like unfathomable power. And then the Doomslayer does what the Doomslayer does and slays the Doom. Like it's good. Like it's good stuff. It's, for me, this is a like 7 to 7.5 for me. Even moving like with all the other stuff too, like I could put it at 8, but I've cooled off on it since I beat it. I'm looking at it being like a 7.5 for me. Like this game is, as far as gameplay goes, really, really good. A lot of fun. My problem is that the levels aren't tight enough. There's way too many long like you look at the map, there's way too many long corridors that go nowhere. There's not a consistency of just tight level design, which Doom 2016 has so well. There is an economy of space and design that Doom 2016 has that Eternal just didn't feel the need to implement, and Dark Ages felt like you're like just reeling it in a little bit when you need to reel that in a lot more.
Yeah.
Segments where you're on the flying beast as well as the mech are great examples of, hey, here's a giant toy, here's a sandbox, play in it, and you kept that tight and concise, and I never felt it was like I stayed in it too long, and I never felt like, what was the point of me doing this? There was always something, like, there was always a purpose for everywhere I was going in any of these setups.
Yeah.
Please take that mentality and put it in your primary game as well.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't feel great.
I talked to you about this off mic already, but like in so many of these levels, you start in whatever is it the Argent base? What, like you start somewhere in, deep in the bowels of the base, and you have to, run around for 2 minutes before you even like encounter enemies. And it's basically like you're running through all of the, Argent soldiers and stuff like that, and just kind of, they're, the other people who are on the front lines with you in this fight, but really you're the tip of the spear. So they're just kind of like holding back, waiting for you to go out and fight the stuff. And so, yeah, it's like the first minute or a minute and a half of like every level, I felt like I'm just, it's in service of this story that they wanted to tell. They actively
it's not even in service of that story.
Exactly. It's in service of like building out this world and making it more quote unquote realistic to say, like, look at all these other people that you're fighting alongside. Look at these bases that they've built. Look at these like, these citadels that they've crafted, and
look at the culture and their history, and like,
and it's like,
but no, it doesn't matter.
There's not like, there's nothing there. It's just a whole bunch of faceless grunt NPCs that you're just walking by, who are occasionally being like, we need help or something like that. But it's just like, it's over designed levels of like, there's nothing in the first minute of so many of these levels, and that's no, get me straight into the combat. Just like, let me like start me at the end of that run, or make that like a walk and talk through those people for the cutscenes you're going to do. Don't have the cutscene, then drop me in like this back end of a corridor that I have to just jog through for a while before I actually get to anything to fight. And it's not even like,
and those areas are empty too. There's not like there's a lot of dudes.
It's not like there's collectibles in those areas either. It's like, okay, there's nothing here. I can see on the map the first collectible is like, well away. So it's like, what is all this for?
And here's the thing, and this also goes to the storytelling as well. And oh, there's this story. It's like, this is cool. I like the story stuff. Gets me like wanting to give it an 8. But the problem that I'm always going to come down on is, if the Doomslayer doesn't give a shit, why should I? If your main character, and this is a plea also to like game writers everywhere, if your main character doesn't care, there is no reason to invest yourself into something that the main character doesn't care about. The main character cares about ripping and tearing his way through the hordes of hell. If you want to connect the Doomslayer to this world on any sort of emotional beat, you need to break your rule and give the Doomslayer emotions. I'm sorry, he can't be McCool guy, McDoom guy, and just like be like, the only words he's ever said are no to like the god of death and creation and whatnot. Like, you can't be too cool for school, but then ask me to care about school, man.
Yeah, it's like, okay, the whole thing is just a heavy metal album cover. You know what I'm not really looking for in heavy metal album covers? Like story, but like also, a story. Really, I guess is what I'm not looking for in heavy. Like, I'm not listening for or looking for anything in heavy metal because it's just not my jam or vibe anyway. But like, yeah, I'm not gonna look at some. I can't even think of a Megadeth album cover and be like, oh, let me like write 1,000 words on the story of what this imagery means. And create this fictional back lore or something like that. Yeah, I don't care, and the Doom guy doesn't care, and you've never really cared before. So yeah, like again, going back to like the backstory of the first Doom game is like a screen of text, and that's it. Then you just are plopped into the game and you're fighting demons and stuff like that. And Doom Eternal worked pretty well in that regard. Of like, you wake up from this, whatever, how long you've been asleep, you get your guns and you start destroying things. Cool, great. Doom Eternal, yeah, starts to add way more story into it than I give a crap about. So I'm just gonna kind of like mindlessly play through and not really pay attention. If it's there, if you wanna look at all the codex stuff, I don't. And this is the codex stuff, I would say, brought to life, but as you've pointed out, it's not. This is a different period than we get from the codex stuff or whatever.
And even then,
this has codex within it, and it's just like I didn't read any of those either.
I read them; they're good. I think whoever writes the codex is doing a stellar job, but the codex is being more interesting than the story you're telling on screen. That's a problem. There's just the problem with this game is that it wants to. People said, "Oh man, this is going to be really, really cool." And don't get me wrong, it's cool. Like, the story is serviceable. It's not winning any awards, but like, there's no depth to it. There's no like greater.
It's very tropey.
It's super tropey.
Here's the good guy. Here's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Here's the betrayal. Here's the MacGuffin.
Like, we see now this set up for what will end up being the Maker's betrayal of the Sentinels. And the Night Sentinels in particular coming up, like, that's set up super well. But, I other than doing some like really cool things where it's like, oh, the Doom guy's too angry to die, and they kind of give you like a thing around that. That's fun. I dig that. Like, there's a lot of cool things in this game. It's just, if you're looking for, like, I was hoping there would be a better story to it, but I'm okay with it being just a serviceable story.
You being like, yeah, this sets up the something between the Makers and the Sentinels or whatever. Before this game, I wouldn't have known what the hell the Makers were. And 6 months from now, I'm not going to remember what the Makers were.
Sure.
I might remember the big guy that turns out to be, a whole bunch of like, leeches, giant leeches kind of surrounding his body. I might remember that as like a boss fight in this game. And that's about it. Like, so much of that stuff just felt like, all right, yeah, this is all just fodder for my character, so I'm not really going to invest my time and energy into like caring about them or their motivations or whatever. Yeah. Story not what I come to this game for. And it's not what I'm going to remember this game for, I will say. That said, gameplay wise, I was also, like I said, let down in this. I described it to you the other day of like, it feels, Doom guy here, Doomslayer feels heavy, more so like a Gears of War, Marcus Phoenix, heavy, bulky, chunky chunk of a thick boy, whatever. And that's not what I'm looking for in the momentum and the movement of this. And I don't know if it's because like the way the combat is structured, it's like, oh, you're surrounded by like dozens of enemies that you're having to take out, and like many of them are quick cannon fodder, like one-shot kill enemies, but then there's, a few lieutenant kind of, bigger mini boss enemies in each of those little encounters and something like that. And so it's like, okay, I just need to kind of clear the field so I'm not getting overwhelmed by the ants here on the battlefield, and then I can focus on, the other guys. And so then when I'm focusing on the other guys, that's when like the momentum tends to come to a halt, where the like almost every encounter was like, okay, I'm running and gunning and throwing my shield out and like decimating, a handful of enemies. And then, okay, now I've got the one enemy that I have to, that is more of a bullet sponge for a little while. And then, you get the finishing prompts or whatever. And each time there, it was just like, okay, yeah, I'm just kind of standing here. I'm not running and gunning because I'm parrying this enemy. So I can, do more damage or stun him if I stay close and parry him. So that's what I'm doing. And it was planting, which is not really what I want to be doing in a Doom game. And yeah, I could have, avoided that if I really wanted to, but then I'm burning through more materials. And even there's a lot of enemies where it's like, hey, actually, no, you have to do the glory kill to kill this enemy, because we're going to give you a little power up from the glory kill. You're gonna get your health boost or your armor boost or your ammo boost or something like that. And it's like, oh, so like if I am just trying to unload on the purple enemy from a ways away, it's staying purple because it's dead. It's ready for me to come in and get the killing blow. And I've just wasted a whole bunch more ammo not realizing that or something like that. So yeah, it just didn't click for me on like that level either. I felt, it was just it was a letdown of a game, in a game that I already kind of went in without high expectations.
I think that is, I didn't have like super high expectations. And like, as far as like the movement, I mentioned earlier, and this is kind of my point in Doom 2016, the locomotion of how you move through that game. There is a consistency, there is a pattern to it. It matches the rhythm of the music that's playing. Like, there is a synchronicity that Doom 2016 has that Eternal struggled with because of how much more level they gave you. It always felt like too much level. This game gives it where it's like, I feel like there's too much level here, but the problem that is like, oh, well, now you're going to do where you are just trudging through, or you can run. And it's like, other than giving me blur effects, like, I don't know why I'm not always running all the time anyway. And I think that's something that is the wrong takeaway from Doom Eternal, which is the feeling like trudging through, and that's really just, it's sluggish and it's trudging through, and it's all about like how you move through that level. Is they try to do, like you mentioned earlier, they try to give you a feeling of you're planting your feet. Then give me a thing that makes me plant my feet. Don't have me always plant my feet. It feels awkward in a Doom game that shouldn't be there. Like, it shouldn't, in Doom 2016, you are moving through that level because if you stop, you will be swarmed and killed.
Yeah.
So you need to keep moving. Eternal was just you gotta go fast, gotta keep moving. And it's like, but if I stop, like, you want me to stop and like look around so I can see the verticality and do all of that, and it's like that you're slowing me down. This time it's like, you have a shield, you have to plant your feet, and it's like, I don't want to. I want to take my shield and run it through people. I want to take my maul, and I want to run around this entire area and just swing at shit and murder it with the ball and chain. Like, I want to take the Doom mace, and I want to just cleave through motherfuckers with it left and right.
That right there even touches on like another annoying thing. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this wasn't the case in the last couple games, but making the like melee attack a like recharge thing that where you have to either get the resources or you have to like wait, it's on a timer kind of thing. Like, I was like, that's really annoying, because sometimes I just want to like punch the shit out of one of these demons. And I don't have any more of my melee stuff. And so it got to the point, melee move. Yeah, I got to the point that I just wasn't meleeing things. And so even like having the powered up, buffed up melee, I wasn't really ever doing anything with. And that feeds into another issue that I had with this, of like one of the exciting elements of like the 2016 game. And it's fascinating to see like how I've kind of turned the table on this, because like 2016 comes out, and like I'm originally very averse to it because I'm not the gore guy. I'm not the but being in control of like when the gore happens and when the glory kills happen and stuff like that, I was okay with it, and it's still over the top enough and cartoonish enough that it doesn't bother me. Here, I was just like I don't think it's that I was numb to it, but I was very bored by the glory kills.
Oh, there's
and
no
stuff like
variety
that.
to them. The
They-
glory kills
yeah,
suck in this game.
yeah,
Because they're all based around your they're all based around your melee stuff, and it's like, how come in Doom 2016 and even Doom Eternal with the Slayer blade on the side of your arm, you're doing more with that than you're doing with like, why is everything the same sort of strike? It's the same sort of like glory kill that you have with that. I remember one point I went berserk and chose just to equip the gloves and the gauntlets, and it wasn't as satisfying as I wanted it to be.
yeah.
It was satisfying. And I think that's another thing too. The kinetic feel of hitting somebody in this game feels good. You limiting it is bad. If I want to do a punches only run of Doom on an easier setting, I should be able to do that. You gave me a ball and chain. Let me run around swinging it constantly and just like hitting dudes left and right. When I had that as an opportunity under Berserk mode to just do nothing but swing the ball, like the flail, that's what it is. Like sling the flail around and just hit every dumb motherfucker with it, and just like absolutely brutal. Like, and it didn't always like insta kill them because it was the first hit, and I had to do a second or a third on them. And I'm like, but I love the feel of it. I hit him with it, good. Hit him with it again, good. Hit him with it a third time. My glory kill's the same.
Yeah.
My glory kill's the same. My glory kill's the same. If it had been, oh, I hit him with it, and then I take my shield and I like punch it through them, or like, there's so many cooler things they could have done with this, and instead of over designing levels, maybe make that gameplay gorier and cooler. I don't know. Your game from 2 games ago can't have more variety in glory kills than the third game in the current franchise. You
Certainly shouldn't.
It shouldn't anyway. I don't know. I feel like they're always taking the wrong lessons from the criticisms of the prior games. That being said, and here's the thing. This is where I get like weird about it, is because like my 7.5 is very fluid into an 8 at this point. Talking more about it, I'm like, the things I love about this game, I love.
As we talk about it, I'm like, maybe I'm being a little too generous with a 6.5. Yeah, I'm like, there's a lot of this game I just don't like.
And the thing about it's like, there's a lot of this game that I love. Like, I love the feel of like, I love the gun choices here. I felt the gun choices are diverse. But part of the problem is that Doom Eternal required you to like move through your arsenal. You can mainline this game with just the shotgun.
Yeah, I pretty much like all of the weapon challenges and stuff I had to do basically while I was doing like cleanup and like going back and getting the secrets or whatever I had missed in each of the levels. And I was still able to do it, but like I think when I finished the game, I'd really only done the challenges for like the super shotgun and like the rocket launcher, I think. And the chain shot thing. Whatever that weapon was.
Oh yeah, that's a sick weapon.
Yeah, but like once I finished it, I had no reason to keep using it really.
And that's part of the problem.
Like it was like, okay, like
yeah.
Especially because it's limited on ammo or whatever, and you have to like to really get the benefit of it, you have to charge it up, and yeah, I just didn't typically have like enough of a need for it. As I told you, like my main strat, especially in the end game, was basically like plant my feet, parry an enemy, and blast them with the rocket launcher because I had the upgrade that is heals me on splash damage. So basically just like unloading rockets into the enemy. If an enemy's doing like a 3 parry, like they're gonna attack me 3 times, I'm gonna get like 3 parry combos. It's like parry, blast, parry, blast, parry, blast, blast. And that was basically like the routine that I kind of fell into there at the end. And then if I was out of that, I would switch back to the super shotgun and just kind of let that do the work. There wasn't, I wasn't really, I wasn't incentivized very much to, especially like another thing that I feel like the previous games were better about, but I've forgotten them, so maybe I could be wrong on this. But I feel like the challenges in the other games unlocked like a new ability or more damage or something for the weapons. Here it's all just color. It's all skins. It's unlocking a different skin on the enemy. So it's like, yeah, there's no real reward for me to actually do, 100 or use the regular shotgun, the combat shotgun, to unload all your shots into an enemy 100 times or whatever it was. It's like, because I don't care if I'm never using that gun anyway. What do I care if you're going to give me a different skin for it?
Yeah.
It was basically like, okay, I got the gold skin for my my super shotgun, and that's what's in all of my cutscenes, and that's what I'm using anyway. So cool, fine. That's just didn't really. There was no payoff to using a lot of those things. The one time, going back to like the glory kills, the one time I felt like, oh, I feel like that's something I haven't seen before, was when I somehow I got behind an enemy and did basically like a glory kill from behind.
Yeah.
It seemed like, oh, maybe the glory kills are a little bit situational on like where you are and again like compared to their body, where I felt like, oh, I feel like that's a thing I hadn't seen. But most often, because I'm parrying them and they're attacking me, I'm just face to face with them when the glory kill time comes, and that's what I was doing. So yeah, it was just like there wasn't really a I like the changes to combat for this one. I think really ultimately hurt it in terms of that feeling of momentum that the other games had.
And the thing about it is like it didn't have to. There's enough going on here design wise where that didn't have to be the case, where that didn't have to take away from it, where you could have done the things you wanted to do with this, but done them in a way that fit with what people want to play with a Doom game. And I think, like, for me, it's not even the parry mechanic. It is just that feeling of the start and stop of the locomotion in this game is the biggest grievance I have with it, is the fact that I'm going fast, I'm going over it. Oh, I need to stop. Cool. Well, now I'm sluggish again. Hate that. I hate it. I don't want to move like that. I want to move like I'm moving. And if it's like, oh, I slow down, cool, then have me like give me that locomotion that I need to feel like I'm moving good. You can move through a space without any resistance or anything, like you have an internal, and it just feels floaty and not great. But if I look back to 2016, if I look to like what I want, especially in the modern day from a first-person game, is I want that feeling of kick up, move, and then to start moving faster. Just like give me that motion. Don't have me, if I'm not pushing down if I'm not hitting the button to run, have me just trudge. I hate it.
I don't agree with you on that front. I don't want the like slow ramp up to.
I don't, not a slow ramp up, but give me a ramp up. Don't give me a
stage. I don't want that at all. That I don't think would feel good. I feel like that because I feel, especially in this game, I think that's just going to be more annoying for you in the long run. Is okay, I planted and now I'm having to move to the next area. Why are you making me do this slow ramp up to running? Because of the amount you're going to have to do that in the game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Don't design your levels that happens all the time, though.
I mean, I still don't like. Admittedly, yeah, I don't play a ton of first-person shooters. I would be curious what games do what you're talking about that have that ramp up of speed that feel good. Do you have any that immediately come to mind? If not, we can just kind of move on from it. But that's where I'm like, oh, I don't like. I encounter that in in some occasional like walking sim games. They'll occasionally do that where there isn't a run button, but if you're moving long enough, it'll kind of just. Hey,
I don't think I'm putting my when you mention that, it's like, well, it's in all these games, but I think I maybe misspoken is the problem in how I delivered like my expectation of how movement should happen. I don't think you're like, it's a long process, I'm like, it should be like a second long process.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like the thing I'm thinking of would be like, oh, like if you aren't pushing your joystick all the way forward, and maybe this is a joystick versus a mouse and keyboard conversation or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like, yeah, like I I never in a game I'm never like, yeah, why would I ever not want run on, just by default? Why would I ever want I have to push a button to run anytime where that's an option is
No, that's what I
annoying.
mean though. I don't want I want to just move.
Yeah. And yeah, so it's yeah.
Oh,
I
sorry,
mean,
my problem.
in this there is a like yeah, it is well, I think it's probably a setting where it's like, are you running by default or are you running if you or are you having to push the button or are you having to hold the button? Like sprinting is usually like on a control. It's like, oh, do I have to
It's shift on
tap
here. Yeah.
tap the left stick or do I have to like hold the key? Like yeah, so do I have to does pushing shift put it into an auto run mode or
It does,
do I
yeah.
have to hold shift to run?
It puts it into an auto run, but I just want to. I'm moving. Cool. Give me, instead of hitting the button, just do it automatically for me.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm okay with like needing the refinement of like I'm moving slower and I need to, because I'm in a tight space or it's a puzzle space, like a jumping space, and so I need to be more careful. That's the problem that I had with Eternal, is like that never felt like I was doing, like I always felt like I was moving.
And maybe yeah, so maybe that is very much because were you playing mouse and keyboard the whole time?
Here's the thing: in Eternal, I was playing on DualSense.
Okay.
In Eternal, always playing mouse and keyboard.
Sorry, yeah, I think you said Eternal both times.
Sorry, Eternal DualSense. I was playing on PS5.
Yeah. So
Dark Ages, mouse and keyboard.
So yeah, I think maybe that is because you're using WASD, right, for movement. So yeah, versus like a thumbstick, an analog stick, where if I only push up the analog stick, a little bit, I'm walking versus
maybe that's
pulling it the full way. Or
Maybe it's just
like
the way I was playing it. There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, there's our 2-minute tangent on locomotion in the game, or 5-minute tangent, however long we talked about it. Yeah, ultimately, it's a game. It's not the bottom of my list for the year because Monster Hunter exists and I played that this year. But it's not. It will quickly fall out of my top 10 once I have 12 games probably in my list here, unless I jump in and play other things that I'm like, oh, this just didn't do anything for me. I'm very much glad that I didn't pour a ton of money into this. It was okay. I'm getting my Game Pass for the month, and I used it to play to play South of Midnight. I used it to check out Claire Obscure and be like, okay, I like this game enough that I'm going to just buy it because I'm not going to try and play this game with Xbox controls that I don't know as well as the sacred symbols of PlayStation. And then I checked out Avowed a little bit, and then this came out, and I was like, okay, I'm going to play through this game. And yeah, I basically played through this game over the course of 5-6 days or something like that, and was like, all right, yep, that's a game I played, and I will again forget about it by the end of the year, I'm sure. If I wasn't looking at the Wikipedia synopsis for the game already, I couldn't have told you any of the character names from this. Maybe the bad guy. I might remember the bad guy's name, or I'll at least remember that he's Prince something. For a little while.
Thalia, I'll probably remember because it's not the most unique name, but it's one that stood out to me.
What'd you say?
Thalia.
It's Thyra.
Never mind. I take it back.
Exactly.
I fucking take it back.
That's why I asked to confirm, because I was like, I don't think you have the
Thyra?
right name already. Yeah.
Thyra?
Yep.
Man, why did I think you were saying Thalia the entire time?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
Maybe in the PC. I'm joking. Yeah. In the PC version, maybe. No. That's not why we play these games. We don't play these games for the named characters. Your names of these characters don't matter if your main character is called the Doom Guy or the Doom Slayer. You can't be like, we're going to interject this. Keep it in the codexes then, man.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I like it. I like that it's here. I think it's fun, whatever. But don't expect me to care about it. I like the Doom lore. I like Doom lore. I would go as far as say I love Doom lore. But I love it because it's lore, not because it's it was multiple cutscenes. I love it because it gives a deeper context to the world that I am playing in. And your cutscenes aren't doing that. For the most part, anyway. There's a couple of cutscenes where I'm just like, this is a really cool cutscene. I really dig what's going on in this cutscene. Granted, most of that is actually story stuff. It's more of I unleash Cthulhu, and I'm riding him into the Cthulhu realm, and we're getting some eldritch horror up in this bitch. I'm digging that. I think that's cool. I get a giant mech, and sorry if this is spoilers, but this is also Doom. Why the fuck are you like? It's a spoiler. Like, is it fair to even call this a spoiler cast? Because it's like
that's very much the like. Even the one thing that I would have maybe considered a spoiler because I didn't know anything about it going into this game, like you kind of already glanced over earlier in the episode, so I was like, well, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And even that's like a story thing, and maybe it's not even a spoiler if you know the lore, you know, kind of the deeper history, especially the 2016 and Doom Eternal, like modern day stuff. But yeah, it was just like, yeah, this is not a like if you get. If something from like the story of Doom gets spoiled for you and that's what ruins the experience, then you were playing the wrong game to begin with, my friend.
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, like, no. The game is awesome. Like that's the game's awesome. It's an awesome game. But in this year of caliber of games that it's in right now, it's lacking substance.
I mean, this is the kind of thing that might have been fun as like Doom 2016 DLC for like, oh, here's the expanded story or something like that. But yeah, for me, this is a huge step back from the last two games. So I don't think it's awesome and you know, obviously mileage may vary. It's all subjective one. But yeah, like in what I would have liked to have seen of this series, I would have liked to have seen the games getting progressively like more like 2016 was. And yeah, like Doom Eternal, way too long of maps. Even this one, way too long of maps. And at least Doom Eternal gave you checkpoints because they recognized the maps were too long. This one does not. There's no like, oh, I can't fast travel to an earlier point in the map, so if I just kind of get past that point and no return, I can't go back and get that collectible I missed. I am going to have to replay the level. And I didn't bother to try and check this out, but like I'm pretty sure at that point you just also have to replay the entire level because there isn't like a checkpoint system where you can just kind of like exit out the map. So I'm pretty sure like, oh, if I get that secret and then I just quit out the level, I don't know if it's going to save my progress.
I think it saves your progress.
Maybe it does. Yeah, I never bothered. I was like, all right, I got the secret. Now I'm just gonna fast track to the end of the level. So yeah, it was the series is going the wrong direction in terms of like my enjoyment, to the point that like I'm probably not going to bother checking out the next Doom game because like I was so meh on this one. Like this one is very much just I didn't care. And yeah, I like the when I finished this, the fact that I immediately went back to Blueprints or even Baldur's Gate 3 or now I've started to go back to God of War Ragnarok just to like revisit that game. It's like I, you know, probably would have had a more fun time with any of those other games than really even taking this detour and jumping into this. Like it's here. We can talk about it here on the podcast, but yeah, I'm going to not be inclined to bother with the next Doom game because this one just didn't do anything for me, and I don't expect the next one to either, given the trajectory the last couple have done for me. So, which is disappointing.
I hope they turn it around. I hope they right the ship a little bit here. I don't think it's like a tremendous shift. It's not like there's, for me, nothing in Doom Dark Ages is so egregious that like you can't just be like, hey, let's fix this in the next one. My biggest complaint about Doom Dark Ages is the size of levels, and then also, like you mentioned, no checkpoint system. There's like it's frustratingly stupid.
Actually, I will say, sorry, real quick on the checkpoints. I mean, the game is checkpointing. It's just no fast travel.
Sorry, that's right. Sorry,
so
my
like,
apologies.
Yeah, if you
fast
die,
there is
like,
checkpoint. Sorry. Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you die, and it's like, hey, do you want to use one of your like sigil revives or whatever to just immediately get back into the fight? If I'm like, no, that was dumb. I can do that section easier without burning a sigil thing, and I say no. Like it starts me right back at before going into that fight. So it's
apologies.
Very good checkpointing.
Sorry, yeah, really great checkpointing actually.
Just no fast travel mid level.
My gosh, yeah, sorry about that, folks. We definitely put our foot in our mouth with that one. Collectively, we both did it.
Yeah,
but it's fine. Yeah, no fast travel on a level still this big, problematic. Especially when they're so like. Like I like this game a lot, but I don't love it. And that's really, and I think part of that might have also been just the fact that I played through like Doom Eternal and Old Gods right before this game came out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, well, it'll be more
you're doing
Doom.
that. You're doing that a lot this year. You're like playing a whole bunch of the game to prepare yourself for the new game, and it's like by the time you do that, you're going to be super burnt out. Which is why I have no idea why you're going to go into Death Stranding before Death Stranding 2. Because by the time Death Stranding 2 comes out, you're going to be like, all right, I don't need any more of this game. I feel that's that. At least
Maybe.
that's how I would feel.
I would say
Yeah.
the problems and here's why I think it's good that I did that. I had a lot of rose tinted glasses for Doom Eternal that I had that I didn't have. That I don't have for Death Stranding. I don't think. In fact, I think at the time of beating Death Stranding, I was real hot on it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I was like, I'm so hot on this game. But I don't think...
it'll ruin your first review for the site, right?
Yeah.
Way back when we still did written things.
Yeah. No, when I'm looking at... so, like, getting through and playing through Doom Eternal and being like, cool, I'm doing the Doom stuff, cool. Why is this level so long? Why is there so much level here? What do you mean I've only found like a fourth of the collectibles on this map? That's not like, I'm not doing any more. And then I'm like, cool, I'm going to hop into the DLC. It's like, cool. Why are these levels so big? Why is this not more concentrated? Why do I have to keep going through these areas over and over again? Why is the verticality so like, feels so counter to like what I want out of a Doom game? Like, it's cool that I'm going vertical, but like, why is this entire map 3 tiers? Why can't part of it be 3 tiers and the rest of it just be 1 tier? Like, why is this the thing that keeps happening?
There reminds me, there is an interesting thing about the verticality in this one of like, there's a lot of like one-way verticality where it's like, oh, you're going to start somewhere up high so that you can do the thing that they introduced the Doom guy doing at the very beginning of the game where you land and it has like a shockwave and kills, a bunch of the, puny demons kind of in the space. You do that a lot through the game, but you can't really do it like on command or anything like that. So when you do get into some of those like flat areas where there is like a hordes of enemies and be like, oh, this would be like a great place for me to have like a jetpack and just kind of like do a big ground stomp thing, you can't because you just don't have that verticality option in this game. So it's like that was a weird thing for me of like, which probably ties into some of my other gripes that I talked about earlier of like, you already, the first time you get to those moments, it's because you've been running through a citadel for, a good 30 seconds. And then you get out of the citadel and you like jump out and you land and you kill the demons or whatever. So it's like, maybe that's a little bit of, the extra little satisfaction you get from that is like, finally I'm doing something and I kill all the enemies. And it's like, God damn it. Now I need to run for another 30 seconds before I fight anybody.
That goes back to my, like the plant and move thing. Like, plant, now I want to move, but I want to be moving through demons. I don't want to be moving just through empty space. Yeah. Don't give me a bunch of empty space to run through. Give me corridors of demons. Give me areas full of demons that I have to rip and tear my way through. That's what I want. So towards the end game of this, when these levels are populated full of demons, I'm loving that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm loving doing this. Cool. My weapon, like, shotgun's not shooting fast enough. Switch over to the to my plasma gun so I can shoot faster. Like, let me get into let me get into the motion of moving through my arsenal as I'm ripping and tearing my way through these hordes of demons. That is like the last 2 or 3 levels.
Yeah.
That should have been all of the levels.
Yeah.
That's a thing for me is like, I am so high on towards the end of this game because of how many demons I slaughter in the last couple levels. Like, you are just mowing through them. And in the earlier levels, you just have these pockets of demons scattered throughout the level that is otherwise empty. And I hate that.
Yeah, it's very much like if the game had started at like chapter 16 or whatever, and basically just kind of kept going up and up and up from there, yeah, maybe it'd be a little bit better of an experience. But it is, yeah, you don't really get into those big hordes where you are having to kind of keep your head on a swivel for a while. Until very late in the game, which disappointing, I would say. But that is very much like, because I would occasionally check in with you throughout playing and just being like, yeah, it's just not clicking for me. It's just not clicking for me. And then like the few times it did feel like it clicked were those moments where it was, oh, this is the kind of Doom experience I want, where I am running around the inside of this beast, and enemies are shooting at me from all directions, and I am having to like keep moving
And
to
the floor
avoid
is
them and
lava,
stuff like
so you
that.
got to be like moving around. Like, yes, all of that. That's what I'm wanting out of my like. So like early on, I'm like, it's okay, like it's good, I'm enjoying it. And then when I get into there, it's like, yes, more of this. And then the idea of going back to those other levels, no. I went through and I tried going through the first level again, and I was just like, I don't like this. So I didn't replay any levels.
There were, yeah. I was gonna say earlier when we were talking about like the really planting your ground and like how that just doesn't feel good. The most, unfortunately, it only happens a couple times in the game, but those moments where you have to just sit at a Gatling gun and shoot the things that are coming at you, and then shoot the big enemy that's coming at you. It's like that was just boring. Like,
have me run through those guys and tear them apart.
Yeah.
Have me climb my way up this giant demon and do something like that. Like, let me do a glory kill where I take out his leg and bring him down, and then I smash his skull in with my boot. Like, let me do something cool like that.
Yeah.
Sitting at a machine gun to charge up the bolt on it is not cool. Want to know what's cool? Running around in my mech suit, punting demons and punching them and shock fisting them.
And even that didn't work for me all that much, because again, I think specifically the mech suit feels ridiculously slow. I had fun running around and destroying the maps by just running through them.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed that.
You didn't like the
weird little
Rock'em
element of
Sock'em
it.
Robots?
Yeah, exactly. The Rock'em Sock'em Robots bit just didn't really click for me, because it was like, all right, this is very heavy, slow, and then they do the same thing where it's like they give you a giant gun at the end of those sequences or something, and you're gonna just kind of like unload that gun on a thing. And I was like, yeah, Don't
give me a giant gun. Give me a giant weapon that I can use to cleave through them. And then it broke off in somebody's head, and now I have to find a new, like, do something different.
Sure.
There's cooler things. Like, you guys were doing the Dark Ages. You really should have gone more melee.
Yeah.
Less guns, more melee, please.
Exactly. Yeah. That is. Yeah. I mean, I think that is indicative of so many things that we talked about.
Because also,
like,
the melee you gave was good.
Yeah, it was good, but limited. And it shouldn't have been. It
No.
should have been unlimited melee and way less on the guns.
Have your gun. Hey, here's an idea. Maybe give us the ammo limitability of Doom Eternal, but give us all that like powered up, juiced up melee.
Yeah,
Like,
and
God.
that's where like I don't want to
Get into what if Adams? What if they did this? What if they did that?
No, not that. It's maybe there is that as an option with all the accessibility things, and maybe like on a harder difficulty, it is a little bit more like, because there's an element here where I'm like, I really liked the like puzzle element of Doom Eternal, where you had to constantly juggling how you were killing enemies because you needed the gasoline for the chainsaw, or you needed health, or you needed ammo. So it was, all right, I need to chainsaw this enemy, I need to glory kill this one, I need to just blast this one to get kind of like that stream of things going.
Yeah.
This one, at least on the basic Hurt Me Plenty stuff, it was, okay, I'm like, just through the normal flow of killing shit, regardless of how I'm killing shit, I'm getting the health I need, I'm getting the ammo, I'm getting I'm getting all of those abilities. So maybe it is like, oh, if I had played this on a harder difficulty, it would have been a little bit more Doom Eternal in the combat sense. And that's where ultimately I'm like, that's cool, but ultimately I was fine getting the Doomslayer, as a power fantasy kind of element of this.
Shoot, is that the? Now I'm thinking about it, it's like, because I know all the other people who are like really loving it played it at like a much harder difficulty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that what it is? Is this game just like not good if you're on an easier difficulty?
I mean, I think especially for someone like you that is much more into like the parry mechanics of your Dark Souls, your Elden Rings and stuff like that, I think narrowing that parry window and making the parries much more like risk reward probably would have been a rewarding challenge for you, given what I know about how much you like that aspect of those games.
Dude, I'm playing Slice of P right now, and like I'm literally on like a only block.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about it. It's like, man, I think I might have given myself a disservice.
I did. So like I said, I'm playing through God of War Ragnarok again. And because Doom the Dark Ages and Claire Obscure have given me like probably a false belief in my ability to finally parry, I finally picked up the like Dauntless shield, which is the like high risk, high reward parry shield as like the first option they give you in that game. Because I always take like I don't parry, just give me whatever. I'm not gonna use the shield, so just give me whatever's gonna like help me the best or whatever. And I'm actively trying to parry the yellow attacks more or something like that. And yeah, I think I made the wrong choice. But whatever. I'm also playing on story mode anyway, so it's like I'm not playing God of War Ragnarok for the challenge either. I'm just kind of like I'm playing it on the PS4 version because I didn't have any of the trophies for that one. So if I'm gonna replay it, I might as well get the platinum again, just like I did with Horizon last year and other games and stuff like that. So it's like it was doing my my write-ups recently for my 40 years of gaming stuff. It was, hey, God of War Ragnarok's another one of those games I want to go back and like replay and revisit. And so yeah, this is the opportunity where there's not really anything on the horizon in terms of like new games that I'm interested in. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna kind of play through that, and let's try playing it a little bit differently now that I've spent some time with your Elden Rings and your Clair Obscures and your Doom the Dark Ages, all with much more of a focus on parry stuff. Let's see if that works in a God of War game for me or not. But yeah, I think the difficulty and accessibility options that they've put into Doom the Dark Ages, while great, yeah, probably made it a little bit of a lesser of a challenge than, certainly than the other games. And so if you want this to mirror the experience of the other games more closely, you're going to want to ramp up the difficulty, I think, to, fine tune it to whatever your comfort level is. Like I said, I was like, I didn't feel the need to drop down the difficulty, but I also like wasn't particularly interested in ramping it up myself. So yeah, Hurt Me Plenty was just fine. I never lost all of my sigils, but I lost enough of my sigils that like I was constantly kind of, pushing up against the 2 or 3 limit, or the 3 limit that it gives you. And I certainly like used enough of them to be like, all right, like, just get me back in the fight. I just want to finish this encounter. Yeah. Any final thoughts on Doom the Dark Ages?
No.
Yeah. All right. So there we go. Doom the Dark Ages. Still ended up talking an hour about it, which is longer than I thought we might. But yeah. So you said probably an 8 is where you're landing on it?
I'm landing on an 8, I think.
Yeah, I'll stick with my original 6.5 rather than like go lower. But it's very much like a game I will absolutely forget about. And yeah, it's disappointing given how much I loved 2016. So, oh well, there's Doom the Dark Ages for you. That is going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk all about Doom the Dark Ages. You can follow Cameron at revcabot.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a massive shout out to our most recent episode of That D Plus Show. We did Treasure Planet, a movie neither Trevor nor I had ever seen. It is a swashbuckling good fun episode, so go check that out.
There you go. You can follow me at trevorjstarkey.bsky.social. In addition to the Treasure Planet, we're going to do another movie of that era from Disney. Atlantis: The Lost Empire will be this next week's episode while we wait for the Doctor Who finale to drop in a couple weeks' time, kind of thing. But I also want to give a shout out to our guest, Ari from last week, who joined us to talk all things Blueprints. And then after our spoiler cast, went and got her platinum of Blueprints, which triggered me to get my platinum of Blueprints this morning as we are recording. So both of us have now completed and done everything we wanted to do in that. I also went through and did some of the kind of the real endgame stuff she had talked about last week. I made sure to do that as well this last week. And then also congrats to her because she got the Baldur's Gate 3 platinum.
I didn't notice that.
Today. Yep.
Oh, is that in our group chat?
Not in our group chat. She just posted it on Blue Sky.
Nice.
After basically it was she was not really going for it, but this was like her third playthrough, and she still had like a couple things to. I think this was her Dark Urge playthrough, so she did the Dark Urge things that you need to do, and she romanced Karlach as her big final things she needed to do for the platinum. She already had the honor run trophy, so shout out to that.
There you go.
But yeah, shout out to
the
Ari
hard one. There you go.
For shout out to Ari and I for like trading our platinum adventures this week, especially in our group chat from last week. We were talking a lot about the like extra challenge modes that both of us were doing as we were doing them and kind of checking in and stuff like that. And I'm sure Cameron's been like, this is all well over my head.
Yep, 100%. I'm like, I don't even know most of these rooms.
Yep.
You guys are talking about these like
and
cool
that's why I'm
game rooms, and I'm like,
I'm specifically keeping it vague in terms of like their challenge difficulties because I don't want to necessarily spoil those things.
For sure.
Some people would view
mum's
them
the word.
as,
I gotcha.
as spoilers. So, yeah, shout outs to Ari, and also if you missed last week's episode and played or loved Blueprints, go check out our extended spoiler cast episode on that. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for the latest content from us. If you like what you heard, once again, please rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.